All right. I think we should be starting this. So, hello, everyone. Thanks for coming.
Hello, guys.
So this one is called Testing Your Messaging Application. So first thing first, is there anyone who doesn't speak Polish? Hands up, quick show hands. Cool. So we're going to switch to English, or stay with English. It's the first time we are doing this presentation. And also,
sorry for that.
Also, it requires a lot of live coding, so what can possibly go wrong, right? If anything goes wrong, this test and the whole code is up and running and this GitHub account, okay? Spring Cloud samples / messaging application. Since we only have 45 minutes, we are going to waste 2 of them on introducing ourselves. So, my name is Jakub Pilimon. I work as a Spring Developer Advocate at Pivotal. I have a great interest in domain-driven design, anything that can be described close to an architecture and test-driven development. I tweet under Jakub Pilimon. I blog over there, so feel free to drop me a line if you want. And I'm also a co-founder of JDD by Examples initiative, which is basically a set of projects that aim as a bridge towards JDD enthusiasts and Spring users. I think Michał will elaborate more on this because Michał is the second co-founder. So would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Michaluk. I'm Java developer, consultant, and trainer at Bottega IT Minds. When Kuba is interested in those things, I'm actually using those things in my work. Basically, software craftsmanship is really important stuff for me. Domain-driven design. Often I introduce those techniques into organizations. And of course, architectural stuff. I don't have a blog because it's a waste of time, but you can look on my Twitter account and definitely look on JDD by Example GitHub account. There is a lot of interesting projects which shows the entire applications or smaller projects for specific kind of tasks when you are applying domain-driven design in your project. So go visit that website.
So you can find us at GitHub and feel free to ping us if you want to collaborate. There's plenty of fun work to do. All right, and here is how this one is going to look like. So we're going to do a little bit of role playing. So I'll play the role of overpaid consultant, hence the shirt. And Michał is going to play the role of ivory architect, and basically his company has kind of problems, and he will talk about what problems do they have and if they are going to solve them. Basically, he's the only one left in the company because anyone else left, and any company wouldn't like.
We fired everyone who disagreed with me, and we hired a bunch of juniors.
Yes. So.
Yeah, the basic problem I can describe it. The true problem is in previous project, in previous organization, I was a junior developer. But I was very ambitious. I went for every single IT conference I could. Then I put all those buzzword techniques and fancy stuff in my resume. And now I got the architect position in the new organization. And after a year in that fintech company, fintech, so finance and technology, so that's everything should work.
Hence the name, fintech.
Yeah, exactly. We have some issues. Basically, we started with a bunch of microservices, like messaging service, print service, etc. And when business forces us to deliver some value and put some, business stuff in there, we have fierce problems with technology, let's say. So maybe instead of elaborating what our business does, I will show you some code example, because writing months of code can save you a few hours of specification. So let's look on those self-describing test scenarios. The business case we have here is we want to evaluate our client should get a credit card or no. So he applies with a card application, and we decide. So for first minimum viable product, we have small cuts in the business logic. Right now, we pick the first if statement from the business logic. If the client is born in 70s and later, he will get the credit card. If the client is born before 70s, we will reject his application. So it is self-explaining test. We are returning success 200 something. from the REST endpoint, and in the other case, we are returning 400 something when he's rejected.
All right, can I go deeper to take a look?
Yeah.
More closer look?
Yeah.
Is the font big enough for the people in the back seat, or should we? It's good? How about now? Great? All right, so let's go deeper. Let's take a look in here. This is some sort of a controller, I guess, REST controller,
Yeah.
right? And delegates to some
Yeah, we
apply
love
for card
functional
service.
style of coding as well.
All right. So there's apply for card service. I guess it's a sort of an application service. So most probably the logic on granting or rejecting the card is already there.
Yeah, we try to do hexagonal architecture as well, so not necessary it worked because we have transactional here, but yeah, as well we tried.
So here's the sophisticated algorithm, right? If it was born before 70s,
Yeah.
then the card is not granted, otherwise it's granted, right?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
This is a good candidate. I guess you should consider like going serverless with this or function as a service.
Yeah,
we
candidate. Think about microservice or serverless. Yeah, that's cool.
But
we will do that in next sprint.
All right. So what's exactly the problem? Because this looks fine. You have tests. You have the logic.
Yeah, the problem is that business expect from us. I know they constantly changing their minds. They didn't really know what they want. And basically, after we deliver that, they ask us where is the email for the client confirming that he got that card or he is rejected because of something. So basically, we wanted to do the REST calls here in that place.
All right.
And another one here, another service.
The same service, I guess, but different payload, right?
Yeah, the same service but different endpoint, because we are doing the REST, so send something or print something.
All right. I'm confused. So we have like another service, another microservice responsible for notifications, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for text messages, for emails, etc., etc. And now from this service, you want to call the other service so that the other one gets to know whether the process was successful or not.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So this is the business requirement. This is the problem that I'm hired to solve.
Yeah, that's one thing. Another thing they want, do not stop that service of application, the credit card. So apply the credit card should work even if the email is not able to send, etc. And there is a bunch of problems with REST calls. They may stop, slow, etc. And we couldn't handle that. So
maybe do you have like gut feelings that business people, the domain folks, will they want another service or different services in your whole architecture? I guess you have like a whole bunch of them to be informed about this information. If yes, did you consider how are you going to solve that?
Yeah. They want as much functionality as possible, and we want as much microservices as possible. So I think, it is the case. So there will be more REST calls here.
So like, if you have like another service that should know the answer or the effect of this process, you just add more services, right?
Exactly. That's cool because you can, read from top to bottom and you understand how the process looks like.
I have a feeling you get paid for the lines of code, right?
Yeah, not necessary, but yeah.
So there is a problem with this. I mean, each time you need to inform another service that something has happened, you have to redeploy this service, and this service doesn't have nothing to do with that. It's called... I mean, it's not necessary.
We're deploying constantly, changing content, redeploying. That's continuous integration, I mean.
All right. So maybe instead of doing this kind of continuous integration, let's think about something different. Because also, with a bunch of REST calls, your process will get slower and slower. And if the other service, one of them, is not up, or it's just down-performing, it will affect the whole process. Does it make sense?
Yeah, we have it on the production already.
Already?
Yeah.
All right. So maybe, I'm just saying that maybe you should consider something different. Like, have you think about that? What if the other service is not responding?
Yeah, they should be responding.
What if not? Like,
I will blame the other guys.
All right. So, I'm getting paid for the amount of time I spend with you, so we can go over and over, or I can just introduce a different
show
solution.
Me the better solution.
I'm not saying it's better, like in all cases, but maybe in this case, you should at least consider that.
Okay.
After all, it's your decision. After 1 hour, I will get paid, and I just go home.
I believe it depends.
It depends.
Like always, with consultants.
All right, but I will show you on what it depends. It's on the context. And the problem is the problem is that maybe you shouldn't be modifying each time there's a new service that gets interest in this. You shouldn't be modifying this process. Maybe if you delegate something, you're familiar with this technique, delegation,
Yeah,
right?
I love delegating to juniors.
All right. So if you delegate stuff to a message broker, you already have message broker in your infrastructure. You have like a whole bunch of
Is
them.
that
You are full
new
stack.
guy, that new junior, or who?
It's the things that you heard about all those fancy conferences like Kafka, like RabbitMQ, like Google PubSub.
Yeah, we already installed all of them on
We
the
have all of
production.
them on the production, yes. So let's just pick one of them, like a random one. Let's say RabbitMQ, for instance.
Sounds cool.
And maybe if you just inform RabbitMQ, hey, I'm going to delete this, by the way. Something has happened, like card granted. Like a message indicating that something has happened in the past. It's called a domain event. And then you just delegate to message broker, and you don't care. Message broker, it's message broker's responsibility to deliver to all of the subscribers. And in the same manner you can do here, right? Card granted in this case, and guess this one was rejected, right?
You're a fast learner. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. So I already know the domain. It's so complicated and complex. So does it sound good?
Yeah, let's show me.
But I have some marketing slide for your boss so that I can justify this decision. So maybe you would like to take a look.
Yeah,
With
sure.
messaging in this problem, in this context, you're eliminating something which is called temporal coupling. I guess you haven't heard about this.
Yeah, I heard that coupling is bad and temporal sounds hard. Yeah.
All right. So you have like temporal coupling. It shouldn't be there in your case. It means
combination.
It means that two of the applications, two of the services, they need to be alive at the same time if they want to communicate.
Okay.
Which is not the case with the message broker. If the second app is down, message broker will deliver as soon as the second one gets up again. Make sense?
Yeah, cool. Sounds
Plus, you get this throttling mechanism for free, so the consumer can consume at its own pace. So you will not overwhelm that by producing more and more requests.
Okay, cool.
Make sense?
Makes sense.
Plus, you already mentioned,
Yeah, exactly.
right?
Our case, yeah.
You don't need to redeploy your apply for card service. You just need to add more subscribers to your exchange in Rabbit or Kafka topic, whatever it is.
But it is still continuous deployment?
It is.
Okay.
It is, still. All right. So also you get for free something which is called spatial coupling. I mean, you eliminate that and logical coupling, which means they don't need to even see each other in the whole infrastructure. They need to see the broker, and that's it. And they don't need to know about each other. Like the producer doesn't know who the consumers are. The consumers don't know who the producer is, right?
Yeah.
So there is this special and logical coupling eliminated, so the coupling related to time and space, it's gone. There's only message broker that deals with this.
I will put those things in my resume.
All right.
Cool.
Those buzzwords, I mean.
Yeah, yeah.
That should be fun. All right. So we already considered two different solutions to solve our problem, and I think we are good to go with messaging, right?
Yeah, sure.
I have seen, because I was taking a look at the code previously when I'm a professional, so before I came here, I had taken a look at the code that you guys having. And I must tell you, viewer discretion is advised. It's a really, really nasty thing that you are doing there. So you already have this domain event publisher in your code, because someone was already playing with domain events.
Really?
So I think we can reuse this one. It's somewhere in here. It's just an interface. It's self-documented. It's a public interface, domain event publisher, which publishes domain events. You have a nice Java docs in case you don't understand.
Explains everything.
All right.
Domain events publisher responsible for publishing domain events.
So this code would be used as a contract for our domain event publisher.
Yeah, definitely.
And the more time I spend with you, the more money I get. So I will start with tests. All right?
Okay.
Is that fine?
Yeah, it's fine. I'm working with tests as well, but not necessarily writing assertions because, they fail.
Oh, you have tests? That's good.
Yeah.
So I'm an old-fashioned guy, old-fashioned consultant. I prefer like red, green, refactor, or you just go red, you just go green. That's better.
Well, I pick the green only.
But with red and refactor, I get to spend more time with you and get more money. So I will start with red.
I will report that to my
All right. So we'll probably use the domain event publisher in here, right? So I'll just inject it. Private final domain event publisher. I will call it publisher. Makes sense. And now we can go back to our test, which is somewhere here. Yes. And let's create our publisher, which was the main publisher. Publisher is going to be mock. I guess you don't have no idea what is the difference between stub and mock. So in a nutshell, in mock you record behaviors.
It depends.
It depends. In this case, it doesn't depend. On mock you record behaviors. On stub you just you teach stubs how to respond. And that's in a nutshell.
Exactly.
So let's write a test and see if it fails. It should be, bear with me while I'm doing this. It should be when our service.
We send application to the service.
And this means the guy or any customer was born in 70s, right?
Yeah, after 70, yeah. Exactly.
I guess it's a valid client ID.
Good enough.
Then I'm expecting that this little guy, the main web publisher or publisher, was called exactly one time, right? This specific method, publish, and the argument should match this card granted event, right? Make sense?
Makes sense.
Good enough?
Yep.
I think. Do you know this technique, copy-paste?
Yeah, sure. I extended it into copy-paste adjust even.
So copy-paste, I will change to 50s, and this guy was born in 50s. We are expecting card application rejected, right? So now, I'm just going to run this test. It should fail, right? I hope so.
That's why I'm
It's
not
red.
doing assertions, man.
So it's red, so let's make it green. You
Waste
have
of
any
time.
idea how?
I don't know. You probably broke something.
So I think we
Yeah,
can-
you didn't use the publisher here.
Yeah,
Man.
you are a fast learner. I'm impressed. Publisher.publish new card application rejected.
Yep.
Should take client ID as a parameter, and again,
Copy-paste?
yes.
Cool.
Publisher, publish, card granted, and it takes, I guess, more arguments. It needs card ID and some limit, and that's it. And let's rerun the test.
Yeah, that was
I
simple.
think it's green. If it's green, can we go to production?
Definitely.
Who thinks we can go to production? A quick show of hands. Yeah, let's go to production.
Push it.
I
man.
love it.
Push it.
But-
And push with force, because there may be some merging issues, and I heard that merging is evil, so I always push with force.
So it's gonna be quicker.
Yeah.
All right. You know what? Again, I'm an unfortunate guy. I'm being suspicious right now because we have this contract, but there's no one responsible for actual publication to the domain event publisher, to the rabbit, or whatever it is. Like, there's no
There is
implementation.
no fancy framework. You can put some annotation, and it will work.
Yeah. I am not aware of this kind of framework. Even if I was aware, I wouldn't use it because I have to spend more time with you. So let's actually implement this interface. And that also shows us that we probably need some kind of a different test because this unit test was not enough.
Yeah,
I mean,
we
it
can
was
do
great.
an integration test for whole app with Spring context
Great.
starting.
You know
Yeah.
about integration testing, my friend. I'm
Yeah,
so impressed.
yeah.
I'm so happy for you. All right. So let's first implement this interface and then maybe write some integration tests.
Okay.
So
So test fierce, but not always.
not always, of course.
It depends.
I will call it to RabbitMQ event publisher.
Yeah, make
Makes
sure
sense?
if you want to use the RabbitMQ.
To RabbitMQ event publisher. All right. And now, what's the best way to push events to the main event publisher in Spring Boot applications? Have you heard about such a framework like Spring Cloud Stream? Spring
Yeah,
Cloud Stream?
Sounds cool. Three cool buzzwords in single framework.
Spring, Cloud,
Stream.
and does it get any better? Like Spring,
Yeah.
Cloud, Stream?
I don't know. It sounds perfect.
So let's use Spring,
Yeah.
Cloud, and Stream
Yeah.
to
exactly.
publish events out there to RabbitMQ.
Okay.
So in a nutshell, how it works. So it abstracts away the whole underlying infrastructure, like Rabbit or Kafka or Google PubSort or LDBS Kinesis, whatever you use, from the developer, because you operate on abstraction of channels in the code, which means
Okay,
there is like a business abstraction of channels, outgoing, incoming channels, and under the hood, the framework will bind the channels to a specific destination. Like maybe, let's say it's Kafka's topic, or it's RabbitMQ's exchange, or it's something in Google PubSub, and so on and so forth.
Okay. So,
So
some magic happens under the hood.
So
Cool.
I call it engineering, but okay, we can call it magic if you want. So what you have to do is you have to enable binding to
Okay,
some
cool.
sort of definition of channels that your app is going to use.
More annotation. That's what I expected.
It's called annotation-driven programming.
Yeah. Cool.
All right, so I have source as a definition, which means I have only one output channel. It's called output.
And that string output is our name of the channel, so we name it.
Yes.
Okay.
And here in some kind of properties, you just bind the channel, output channel, to a specific destination called channel to make it simpler.
Okay.
And you will be talking in JSON.
What kind of payload we exchange?
Make sense?
Makes sense. Perfect.
Now you should ask how the hell the framework knows what kind of the broker should be used.
That's the kind of magic.
This is the magic, right?
Yeah.
The magic is in our POM. It should be someone here, yes. So we have like, not this POM, should be somewhere else. I guess it's in here. Yes. So we have dependency to Spring Cloud Starter Stream dot rabbit.
Yeah, looks solid.
So this is the magic.
Yeah.
And from this, the Spring Boot application, the DAX, hey, this guy wants to stream applications from Rabbit because he has Rabbit dependency.
Awesome.
Cool. So, by the way, there is a running instance of RabbitMQ on this machine just by accident. So it should work when we start this application. But we forgot about the test.
Yeah.
So let's maybe finish the test.
Test first.
And by the way, we forgot about the test and the implementation. It's not finished. We started talking about domain event publisher and RabbitMQ and Spring, Cloud, and Stream, and then we
I'm
forgot.
paying you for talking, or?
All right. So I'll just inject source here, right? Source, like this. Should be from source. What's wrong in here? Source, yes. And upon publishing, I just need to call source output, send new generic message. If you are familiar with Spring integration, generic message comes from this. It's like an envelope.
Okay, so Spring integration is inside?
Yeah, Stream builds upon integration. Make sense?
More frameworks. Awesome.
More frameworks, you are
Yeah.
just full stack.
Yeah.
All right, so I have event as a payload. And then, you know, in HTTP communication, you have this kind of metadata, you have those headers,
Mining
right?
types, etc.
Content type, yeah.
Okay.
Content length, things like this. Maybe in messaging would be good also to have like, to indicate maybe like, what's the type of this event?
Yeah, sure. We don't need to look inside the payload to
Yeah.
filter out.
And you have this domain event, which is, I guess, marker interface for domain events.
No,
This is
Grzeszczak.
this
Yeah.
is-
I
this
hate
is-
that guy. Good.
He didn't write
Yeah.
it. He didn't write it. I did.
Yeah, we fired him. He's constantly implementing own frameworks instead of delivering business value. Yeah.
That's the guy. All right. So here is the domain event. It will tell us what is the kind of the specific domain event, and we can
Okay.
reuse it in here. And here is my favorite part of being a consultant,
Yeah.
because I get to write like this, headers.
Man, I
Cool,
love
right?
that magic.
So now I can just
Cool.
pass headers to here as the second parameter, and now it should work. When you start this application, it should just connect to RabbitMQ, and each time someone publishes an event, it should go to Rabbit.
Cool.
And now let's finish our test, or at least we can even start it. This time you are using JUnit. As you already said, you are full stack, so it's JUnit, Spoke, and
Yeah,
everything
as
is
much
out there.
frameworks as we can.
All right, so this is a fully built integration test. It will bootstrap the whole context, right? So I can
call
write.
our REST endpoint or something like that.
Exactly. So whenever someone calls our REST endpoint, new card application, and the client was born in, let's say, 70s, right? Then we are expecting something. I don't know how to finish that yet, so I'll just copy-paste to here and change it to 50s. And now I'm a little bit confused because during the testing, I don't want to be dependent on running RabbitMQ cluster, right, on my machine.
Why not?
Because it's like the test should fail from one reason, you know, and this is like lack of infrastructure component alongside your test.
Yeah, we have onboarding process for new employees, so every junior can spend some time to installing RabbitMQ locally, so that's not a problem. You know?
You have it all figured out, I guess.
Yeah, I think about
All right.
everything.
I'm not familiar with such fancy techniques. As I said, I'm an old-fashioned guy. I don't want to depend on running RabbitMQ instance when I test my code. All right?
As you like, man.
So any idea how to solve it?
Mock bean.
Mock bean. Cool. So I'll just mock it out, right? So I guess it's at mock bean. I will inject the main in the publisher, so I'll have the whole context bootstrapped, but I will just replace one of the beans to my.
I will not push to the RabbitMQ, just swallow it.
And then I can do like this, like good old-fashioned Mockito style. Mockito, bear with me because it's a long time I have been using Mockito. Domain event publisher, publish, and should be as card, what? Granted, right?
Yeah, in that case, granted.
All right, let's just import this. Good. copy paste again, and here we change it to application rejected.
Yeah, cool.
Nice. When I run this test, if it's green, can I go to production?
Yeah, definitely, man. We never had such a coverage like that. So it is
Great.
200%. So on the business logic and even integration test.
Who thinks we can go to production? Now, anyone? Anyone? Like, cool. So, okay, but I have
Yeah,
this...
we want to deliver fast, that's obvious.
And fail fast, probably.
Yeah.
So, I have this habit. I'm not very proud of this. I'm a little bit embarrassed, to be honest, because I tend to run my apps locally before pushing to production.
Really? And
Yeah.
you are manually testing?
I'm just running them. You know, there are Spring Boot apps that are very quick to start, so I'll just do it, if you don't mind, because it takes more
man.
time for me.
Oh, man, that's embarrassing.
I'll
I don't
just...
know.
Should work, right?
I think I will try to find another consultant.
You will not find anyone with this paycheck, I guess. So, application failed to start. What does it mean? Like,
But you broke something, even in that simple case.
I guess it's a bug in Spring or in IntelliJ.
Yeah, definitely.
Shall we fire like issue on GitHub and Git or in Stack Overflow?
Copy paste on the Stack Overflow. I'm doing that continuously,
There is something in the description.
Continuous Stack Overflow. Wait.
Parameter 1 of apply for card service.
Uh-huh.
So there is no bin of domain, even publisher. Let's take a look. I just did it. All right. I think we're missing
Yeah,
something.
man, you forgot all the annotations. Put
So-
3 more there.
Like this?
Yeah, they're all.
We need all of them?
I don't know. If you
Like-
put 4 of them, they will work, basically. Yeah. Go for more, bro.
I guess we just... I will
Now
start
I
with
feel I should pay you, man.
I will start with the first one, and then if it fails, I will add more.
Okay.
All right. So now, if I run the app, it should work. And now we can go to production.
Yeah, definitely.
But still, we need
should
to-
go already previously.
I would like to see a test. Yeah, it starts. I would like to see a test which would have caught this kind of a problem. So let's recap what we have done so far. So the first test, by the way, I sketched the whole architecture of your project while you were talking. It's so simple. Like while you were
It
talking.
doesn't look simple. I always draw 2 boxes and cylinder with the database, and that's my architecture, and you overcomplicated that picture a bit.
All right, but at least we can see like more components in the architecture, right?
Yeah.
So there is like controller, you have this application service, the main event publisher, the repo, even the database, the Rabbit, and then this app that will stream messages from Rabbit and send emails or text messages, right?
Okay, cool.
And then there was the first test, the unit test, which just took a look at the apply for card service. In isolation, it was a unit test, super fast. It led us into a good design for apply for card service. It's a good test,
Yeah,
right?
I love it. I already force all juniors to write unit tests. Yeah.
Without the body, right?
Yeah, from now, I will force them to write the body as well.
So this is a good test, but still it didn't check the body of the main event publisher, right?
Yeah.
So we introduced the second one, which bootstrapped the whole context, the MVC part, even the embedded H2 database.
Yeah, but we mocked out the
yeah.
domain event
So-
publisher, so that was outside of the scope.
So it's useless, right? So we still don't check it. It's longer. It has
Yeah.
false positives. It's useless, but we spend more time with each other. That means more money for me. And you learned something, right? Because I did it on purpose.
I don't feel the same, but if you ask. Yeah.
So here's the thing. You can test your Spring Boot stream applications with testing binder. So instead of calling real driver to Rabbit or to Kafka, you can just call a testing binder, which will stream messages down to your blocking queue in memory, and then you can run assertions in this blocking queue. Like this.
Okay.
Take a look. You have this message collector, which is a testing call that comes from Spring Cloud Stream.
Okay.
And then you have definitions of channels. You define a blocking queue. So this is like a mock for your RabbitMQ exchange or Kafka topic, right? And then you just say, hey, dear message collector, you are going to give me all of the messages that would have been, say, sent to production, to Rabbit in production, but in here, it's going to be, they are going to be captured in the blocking queue. And then I can write like this.
Cool.
Whenever someone applies for a card, again, it's an integration test, right? With a client ID indicating that the client was born in 70s, right?
Yeah.
Then I'm expecting this on the events queue, so in the Rabbit. Let's say I'm interested in the last message. its headers, I want to make sure that it contains some value like this header, right? Make sense?
Yeah, makes sense.
And then, again, your favorite technique, and we'll change it to 50s. And here we are expecting application rejected, right?
Yep.
Typos,
Okay.
it's good?
Okay, so right now we are testing our whole application with the whole Spring context without mocking any beans.
If it's
but we
green,
just mock outsides of the applications. So we are not using the real connector to Rabbit. Instead, we are grabbing those messages into the queue, just Java queue, and we can verify them.
it's just what I have said, but
That's
yes,
cool.
yes.
That's cool.
All right, so it's green. Can we go to production?
Definitely.
But the full hour hasn't passed yet, and I'm getting paid for each hour, so we have to spend more time on something. So let's not go to production.
Kind of joke or something like that.
Or maybe I can just run the first app, the second app, the RabbitMQ, and just check whether they communicate.
Man,
How does it feel?
Even more embarrassing, man.
I will
That
try to
you're
do so.
Not only manual testing your own app, but you are trying to manual test the whole,
All right.
microservice portfolio.
That's what I do. That's what I do for a living. And
Really?
I will run the
If
first
you-
application.
If we already have 15 of microservices, you will start all of them?
I have only 2 of them. The answer is it depends. It depends on the context of your architecture. But in this scenario, I have only 2 of them. I'm pretty sure I can run them in like no time. The first app is already running. So I'll go. I have seen that you already started some work regarding the second app. It's called Messaging Consumer, right?
Mm-hmm.
You did something, right?
Yeah, some simple,
As-
few annotations, and it works.
So this one binds to sync, which basically is one input channel which matches to the same channel that the first app, so then it's named channel, right? And you have those 2 messages, 2 methods that you want to be invoked when different events come, like card granted, this one should be invoked. When card rejected, this one should be invoked, right? In checks, depending on the condition in the headers. So
Yeah, cool.
it should work, right?
Yeah,
So we
definitely.
should see, if I run the second app, RabbitMQ is running, right? So run this app, RabbitMQ is running. If I do curl post to this first
Yeah, we
app,
already tested our application, so it's working. So if you test it once more manually, it brings nothing new, man.
so I have this curl somewhere. It does the curl to the first application with client ID that indicates he or she was born in 70s.
Mm-hmm.
We should expect here HTTP 200, right?
Yeah,
And then we should see the log granted.
Yeah, exactly.
It's 200, and then let's check the not so happy scenario. So was born before 70s, we expect to reject it, right?
Yeah, sure.
403, it's fun. I think it works because
Yeah.
we get the proper things, and we have granted, rejected. Here is my invoice. You can now pay me. You have 3 days, and yeah,
Yeah,
that's
okay,
it.
but
My job is
the
done.
payment amount will be nil, exactly like here, granted nil. It doesn't look cool.
You mean this?
Yeah,
It's
but
not,
I love the emojis.
It's not even a value.
Maybe you as the consultant for Apple,
Uh,
emojis
so
are great.
I'm confused. We have it was delegated to a proper method.
Yeah,
No
yeah.
doubt about that, right? It works. The communication works.
Yeah.
The headers are there.
Who you want to blame for that? Yeah?
I need the name, right?
Yeah, give me the name. If it's not your fault, who?
It's Jackson.
Another new guy?
Yeah. I will blame it on Jackson. I think so. You know Jackson, not the Jackson serializer.
Singer?
No, the serializer.
Okay.
The one who takes care of your portals being transformed to
Yeah,
JSON the other way around.
I have it in my resume. Already.
Because the headers are there, are correct. The portals doesn't work correctly. So I will blame it on Jackson or configuration on Jackson. Maybe
Show me.
your portals don't have getters, or you didn't configure Jackson, whatever it is.
All juniors know that you should add getters and setters to all classes.
But you didn't add it here. So
Once
I
more-
guess Jackson.
Once more Marcin. Okay, that explains everything.
It's all right. So let's add getter to client ID. All right. I'll just add private. I will add getter and rerun the app. I will rerun the app right now. And if it's up again, I will do curl with the positive scenario
Okay.
and see whether we see something, right? Make sense?
Yeah.
So let's wait for when it starts.
Well,
Good.
that situation shows that automated testings are
So we'll stick with
useless.
manual. All right. So let's
I
first
will hire few juniors to test manually what they commit. You know.
let's first check whether it actually works,
Yeah.
because this is the negative case, this is the positive case, right? It's 200. This is the positive, and this is the
it's-
negative.
Yeah.
303, 403. And now, yep, it works. Here's my invoice. But you
Yeah,
probably
bit of
don't.
magic.
You probably don't like it that you have to like check it
No.
manually all the time.
If the final feeling is that all automated tests we did are useless, I don't want to pay you for advising me how to test. That don't make sense.
So let's again let's recap what we have already done. So we have this testing binder from Spring Cloud Stream, right? And this is the test. Like it took under examination the whole left part of the communication, like with the main publisher, but it didn't check whether this was properly serialized and whether it went to a specific channel in Rabbit.
Yeah, that's
So
true.
that was not enough for the whole communication.
Okay. So what could we do?
So I would like you to get to know another framework so that you can put it in your resume. It's called Spring Cloud Contract.
Now you
Have you heard?
understood what I expect from you.
Have you heard about that?
Spring Cloud Contract. Yeah, sounds familiar.
So in a nutshell, it works like maybe not only for REST APIs.
Yeah, I seen it for REST APIs. You write some YAML, and from that is generated automated test proving that you are, on the input and output from your app, giving the correct payload and the URLs, etc., are correct, etc.
Here's the hint. It works also with messaging. So we can define a contract on the producer side. Hey, whenever this happens on my output channel, this should happen.
Yeah, could you show me how to
All
do
right,
it?
I should have it somewhere. It will take time for me to find it, but it should be somewhere. Yes, it's in here. So you can write those contracts in YAML or in Groovy, whatever you want. Let's take a look at YAML. This is the negative case. So whenever this happens, and by this, I mean this send rejected, and what send rejected you will see in a moment, okay? So whenever this happens, you should expect an output message sent to this channel, named channel. So you will examine the proper channel.
Yeah,
And
write
you will
headers
Yeah.
and the body payload.
and
Yeah,
the
cool.
matchers,
Yeah.
right? So the thing is that the whole magic works like this. Out of this YAML or Groovy DSL, the framework will generate an automated test. So you don't get to write it. It looks like this. And it's part of your build. So this send rejected you have to write on your own because you have to somehow trigger the outgoing message. So you just talk with the main level publisher, which is to RabbitMQ, right? Let's return this, yes. And now we get to run this test and see whether it actually passes this test. And it's part of your build. You don't have to do anything besides this YAML.
Okay.
So it should fail, I guess so, because we didn't add the timestamp getter, right? We added for client ID, but from the timestamp it's not there. So let's fix that. Card application rejected, rejected.
You knew about it?
I knew about it, yes. I like to learn by mistakes.
Or win some more pay time,
Exactly. So let's go to producer and let's add getter for this timestamp and let's rerun the test. Getter and let's rerun this. It should now be green, and this is the ultimate way of testing the whole communication. With serialization with different proper channels, it's green, as you can see.
Okay.
So what we have done right now, it's because this test can be also used at the consumer side. Out of this test, out of this contract, the stub will be generated, and you can use this stub at the consumer side, which means you can test the whole communication without having to bring up the RabbitMQ instance in your communication while testing.
Awesome.
Fun,
Cool.
right?
Yeah, so let me recap all those testing best practices. First, we start with unit tests for everything. Every business case we have. Those are small tests without any technical dependencies, so they run fast. Later on, we add few smoke tests or few tests for integration, so whole app is starting, and we are mocking everything outside. And then we add some contracts for each client or each app we are cooperating with, over the REST or messaging.
I'm so touched. I don't have anything to do right now. I mean, you are so fast. You are so fast learner. It's correct. This is how it should be done, and this is the ultimate way of testing the whole communication without having to bring up the rabbit, right?
Yeah, cool.
But we have like a little bit time until the whole hour passes.
Okay.
So
Now the joke.
no, not the joke. But the problem is that I did some mistake just at the very beginning of our conversation because I was pretty sure that you would spot it, but you didn't. What I was thinking, by the way, and
Maybe
now.
I've seen it.
So let's just recap it. I think at the very beginning we did something pretty nasty. It's in here. So if you take a look at this code, I'll just hide this and this. So you probably are familiar
Yeah,
how
it
that.
is our application service when we are not calling the REST endpoints, but we are pushing, publishing events to
The problem is this is transactional, right? So
yeah, that's not the problem. That's
That's the
everything
solution.
should be transactional. That's it.
All right, let's just hold your horses for a while. Let's think about it. What happens when the actual commit happens? In
Right.
Spring Proxy, right?
Yeah, even juniors know that. When we leave that method, then will eventually commit happen.
All right. So what happens if your publisher is down, if RabbitMQ doesn't respond? It's fine because the whole transaction will be rollback, right? It's fine.
Yeah.
But what happens if RabbitMQ says, OK, I got your message, then you try to commit your database and your app goes down and your database is not responding? So we have your message sent out there saying, hey, the card was granted, everyone. Hey, I'm announcing to the whole world. And then, yet in my database, there's no single credit card.
Yeah, but we can apply once more or repeat the transaction, and eventually it will be saved and everything will be fine. That's eventual consistency, man.
All right. If by eventual you mean never, I would just call it, I don't know, eventual inconsistency or something like this, because it will never be
That's right.
consistent.
New buzzword.
Yeah. But if you change the order, maybe, like after successful commit, and if and only if the commit was successful, I will try to go to Rabbit. Make sense?
Yeah, but you cannot, move the line outside of that method.
I cannot, but I can just register a callback whenever a transaction was successfully committed, run this part of code, like this. I don't remember, I guess, but I will try. Transaction synchronization manager, register synchronization by new transaction to something adapter. After commit, and after commit, I will run this line of code. Make sense? This will be invoked only if this commit was successful. But then it's like fire and forget, because what happens if your Rabbit doesn't respond? Make sense?
Yeah, makes sense.
Are you following? Just be honest.
Yeah.
So,
So
if
we will commit in our transaction and then try to push to the Rabbit.
so it's called like at most once delivery. We'll try once and just forget, fire and forget, right? You can do something different if you need something more. Like if you need to make sure that this message will be there, you can have a different implementation of your domain event publisher, which is called go to implementations, which is called from DB domain event publisher, which means that upon publication, we don't go to Rabbit, we go to our database and store the event under the same transaction with credit cards, which means if you have ACID, so you have ACID right now, so either both or nothing, and then you have this publisher which takes a look at the events and each 2 seconds is going to publish all of the events out there.
Yeah, looks complex, but more annotation, that's good.
Scheduled, transactional, but hence transactional, there's a problem, I guess, because we still talk to Rabbit, and then we try to save something in our database, right?
It's look like the same problem exactly we have previously.
But delegated to here when the card is already there, for sure stored, so that means the worst case, you are trying to contact Rabbit. Rabbit says, OK, the database is down, you don't mark it as the event is sent, and then you will try one more time, and the same thing happens. So worst case, you will just send events several times, which means you have something which is called at least once delivery, and then if your consumer, like let's say your notification app is idempotent, it means you can deduplicate the messages in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Then you have something which can be called close to exactly once processing.
Okay.
Right? Makes sense? Does it make sense?
Not at all, but yeah, I will pay you.
All right, that's cool. That's the most important thing. If you want something different, like there are people who tell you, hey, use something like just send events, and then based on events, you can reconstruct the state of the credit card so that you don't need to modify to external sources. You just need to modify.
Event sourcing, that's cool.
It's called,
I wanted to do that as well.
All right, but then with event sourcing, You have events that you use for both different things. One of the things is you rebuild state based on all those events, right?
Yeah.
And the other thing is just you integrate based on those events. So
Yeah.
it seems like you have a high degree of coupling with this kind of solution.
Yeah, it's like, you know, communicating over database or something like
So
that.
you should reconsider that. All right? So that was it. I'm not going to show you anything more. If you want something more, you have to hire me for the next hour. And if you have any more questions or you would like to learn more, please stay connected to these channels. Okay?
Okay, cool.
Just you can shoot a photo and, please stay connected. And if you have any more questions right now, and we have still like 3 minutes for the questions. Have any more questions?
I don't have questions, but maybe those guys have.
This is time for questions, by the way. No questions.
Thank you, guys.
All right. So thanks for coming. Have a great day.